I got a request from one of my subscribers several months ago for something called a photography glove, which looks just like a regular glove, except the thumb and index finger have little flaps at the top that can open up. So instead of having a convertible mitten, you have just a full glove, and then if you need to use your index finger or thumb for running your camera or even texting on your phone, you can flip the little flaps down and have your actual fingers exposed. So I figured I would put a pattern together for this, and if you've been following along with my glove pattern series, we're going to kind of consider this a bonus addition to that pattern. So what I've done here is I've been working on the other hand for my pair here. I've been following along with the full-fingered glove pattern, and I've worked the pattern clear up through the first three fingers until we get to the index finger here. That's where this is going to change a little bit. So in the index finger, I have knitted the finger section and stopped 1 inch short of where I want the full length to be. So in this case, I'm knitting these to be 2.5 inches, so I stopped when I was at 1.5 inches, which is 1 inch short of the full length of that finger. So to make this flap, what we're going to do is just knit like normal. We're going to start, there are 12 stitches in this round of this finger. So I'm going to knit the first 6 stitches. There's 4. 5, 6, and then the next 6 stitches I am going to bind off, and I'm just going to do a regular bind off for this. So I'm going to knit and then knit the next one and then pass that first stitch over. Now on my next round, I'm going to cast those stitches back on. So I'm going to knit around. So I'll knit my first 6 stitches again. And then when I get to where I started binding off before, I'm just going to cast on some stitches, and we're going to cast on like we did in our earlier in the glove when we had to cast on an additional stitch. Just going to wrap it around my fingers, stick it through, and tighten it up until I have 6 more stitches on there. And then I'll just join that in the round with my next stitch and continue knitting the finger. And that will give us this gap here as a flap, and then when I get to the end, I'll bind off just like I normally do for all the other fingers. The thumb is worked the exact same way. There are more stitches in the thumb, however, so you'll have to knit the first half of the stitches and then bind off the second half of the stitches and then cast on the same amount of stitches that you bound off before and then continue knitting around. But that's how you make the neat little finger flaps for the photography glove. Now, the hands, are 2 different hands here. With the right hand, which is what we were just working on, we knit the first half of the stitches, then bound off the second half. On the left hand, you're going to bind off first and then continue knitting around so that your flap is on the correct side of your finger. But I'll put an explanation of all that in the description of the video below. So there you go. They are your photography gloves.